Who do you think smells the best out of the main cast of characters?
This isn't part of your quiz, though, is it?
I think Christopher Eccleston probably smells like the forest, little minty, and Ewan McGregor definitely is musky.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know what it is, but, like, yeah, he probably smells like he walks around all the time and he's quite sweaty.
Kerry Fox probably smells like the ocean.
Maybe. Or
And
like,
not in a gross way, more like
yeah, not
the
like
Seinfeld
not
Kramer,
like low tide.
the ocean by Calvin Klein.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by Ryan.
Oh, hello, sorry. Yeah, you caught me mid-yawn there. I haven't yawned all day, and that was the first time.
And it's as soon as I started speaking. That is going to bode well for the rest of this episode. Pick it up a notch, Henderson.
I mean, to be fair, it's not because I think you're boring, because you've been speaking all day. It's been... It just so happened that it caught me at that particular moment in time. Well, it's because I'm getting old and it's 6 o'clock and it's like 3 hours till bed, till bed pause, all this sort of stuff.
I am tired.
Yeah.
But I am pumped. I am pumped because we are here to talk about the 1994 dark comedy Shallow Grave.
Yes. We've decided to come up with a couple of little minor changes. We've been having a wee think. We've been putting our heads together and
Yes.
We've been rubbing them together and we're
real hard.
And we're just like, we're here and we're ready to just splooge these ideas all over you and see what you think. But this one in particular, this one in particular, I've decided to call a cleanup episode.
And why is that?
It's because it's so sexy, you need to put a towel down, and if you don't, there's obviously a bit of a mess.
Okay, great.
So here's the thing. So for the last wee while, we've been mostly doing filmographies or like a series of episodes based on the work of, say, like a single director or like a single actor, and then kind of grouping them together that way as like the like McQueeners or Schraderthon, like that sort of thing. But what we're doing is we're going back to the past to basically fill in the gap in the Danny Boyle filmography, and we're not going to go on about what Danny Boyle's done or not done or the particulars of him. What you can do is you can go all the way back to September 17th, 2021 to episode 5, our train spotting episode, and you can basically hear us talk about everything he's done. So basically what we're doing is effectively filling in the gaps.
The Danny gap.
And that's what a cleanup episode is.
We are filling in Danny's gap today.
Yes.
Because for whatever reason, we didn't have that idea when we first started, and things change, things evolve. That's why when people say, I just started listening to your podcast, I say, please don't start from the beginning.
Yes.
It's different people, baby. It's a different time.
We were literally children back in 2021.
I was such a sexy child back then.
I mean, here she goes again. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, we didn't start with Shallow Grave, which is such an obvious beginning point. I think it's just maybe because you were very excited, Ryan, about train spotting.
I think what we tried to do, and our audience wasn't privy to this, was that we tried to at least make a bunch of episodes that showed the overall gamut of what it was that we were trying to do. So from like good films to genre movies to bad movies to older movies to slightly more modern movies. We tried to cover a whole bunch of genres and different ideas and things to kind of give our listeners a little bit more variety. And now we're just kind of taking some of the things that we've done over the last, say, like the first 20 or something. I don't know how kind of far back before we started doing like filmographies and things. So basically this is what the cleanup episodes are.
You'll get used to it.
You will, yeah, because you'll hear me say it again.
Because eventually we're going to have to clean up Campion as well, which I know you're very excited about.
But here's the thing. This is the beautiful thing about these cleanup episodes, is that we don't have to do a bunch of her films in a row.
Because I mean, that's probably
them.
That's probably the main reason that you wanted to do cleanup episodes, is so you don't have to watch 4 Jane Campion films all in a row.
Yes, and everyone knows how I feel about the quality of her films. But certainly it means that we're not spending our time, say, covering God knows how many Bertolucci movies in a row, because I don't think that's particularly fair. And, we want to cover, like, recent modern stuff as well, so we'd certainly have another categorization for that sort of thing. So it's basically so that we can basically continue to be, like, varied and different and kind of give people what they want. A little bit different, even just a kind of small way. So obviously we have a few special things kind of coming down the pipeline as well. So
that's how things evolve. We are growing, we are learning, and we are excited to clean this shit up.
Pretty much.
Are you ready?
Yes. It's because it's so sexy, you need to put a towel down, and if you don't, there's obviously a bit of a mess.
Okay, great.
A cleanup episode. Cleanup. We have written a lot of notes for this movie.
Yes, so let me just start, because we went in with an update. Yes. So I want to reiterate, we're doing Shallow Grave, which you knew because you clicked it. Thank you very much. So this film stars Kerry Fox, Christopher Eccleston, Ewan McGregor, and I put in Keith Allen just for fun. And obviously our director's Danny Boyle, who works with Andrew McDonald, of course. And this film was written by John Hodge. Yeah,
basically the exact same trio who made Trainspotting a couple of years later.
Yeah, at least Danny and Andrew have made 7 films together, at least. So,
well, not by this point.
No, it just
later on.
Yeah. This is Danny's debut, his directorial feature debut.
Yes. And like I say, go back to the Trainspotting episode for more in-depth stuff. But yeah, he made a lot of stuff in TV, certainly worked as a TV producer, and now he's in feature filmmaking, and this is effectively his feature film debut.
It is. It exactly is. So let me drop that synopsis on you before we dive into the myriad of notes that we have about this film, which I, by the way, y'all, love this movie. I love this movie.
Good.
I had never seen this movie before.
No, I hadn't seen it since I was 15 all the way through. I'd seen it in parts over the course of my 20s, but yeah, hadn't seen it all the way through like we had this time since I was about 15.
This is exactly my type of film. It's like cool, around about 90 minutes.
Yes.
It's funny. It's dark as hell. And there's a penis in it.
Yes.
It has everything that I want.
It is deliciously...
There's boobs in it, too.
Yeah, it's deliciously macabre, is what I would say.
Yeah, that's my favorite type of movie, where it's just incredibly dark and
it's got
fucked
a really
up,
kind of
fun.
Yeah, it's got a really kind of sick sense of humor.
Super fun. The music's really fun. The cast is incredible. Such a good time.
Yeah, stylistically refreshing.
And set in Edinburgh.
Set in Edinburgh, and I would also point out that certainly when this film came out, it made a fair amount of waves within the filmmaking community in Scotland. And certainly by the time, obviously, Shallow Grave came out, Scots films were, I guess, they almost like they had their blinkers on. So they were very much kind of set in their ways. They always felt a little bit dour, a little bit dreek. You know, at least this kind of felt like it had a bit of a spark to it, a little bit of energy to it that I hadn't really seen in films up to this point. So,
I love it.
Yes.
All right. Synopsis. Are you ready? Pulled from Letterboxd. When accountant David, Dr. Juliet, and journalist Alex are searching for a 4th roommate for their trendy flat, they settle on the aloof Hugo. However, they soon find Hugo dead of a drug overdose beside a large sum of cash. After some deliberation, the 3 others decide to keep the money and to dismember and bury Hugo's body. Soon, each roommate starts thinking about keeping all the money and scamming the others.
It's a little bit.
Too much information?
I mean, I don't know. In terms of a synopsis, it pretty much tells you exactly what the film's meant to be, which is nice. It's not too long. It's not too short.
I didn't realize, I didn't read the synopsis, even though I actually typed it up before I even watched the film. I guess I didn't read it at all.
Okay.
I didn't even know that they were going to dismember somebody, so I thought they did a murder, but they didn't.
No.
They pulled an old murder.
It was just that, yeah, I mean, the dismemberment comes from, they don't want people to identify the body. But as these things go, it tends to escalate and spiral a little bit out of control, as they happen to.
Of course. And I'll just throw that tagline at you before we're diving in, okay? The award-winning thriller that'll bury you with laughs.
I did wonder if that was the tagline or not.
So dumb.
It's obviously that came out later when they were like the movie sold and it got picked up.
I don't search too hard. I stick to Letterboxd for those things. So I'm sure there's tons of others. There's
probably another one.
Handful.
Yeah. So this is a film for I think it's the Glasgow Film Fund co-production.
Sure is. They gave him £150,000.
Yeah, I don't know how much the overall budget was for this movie. I think it was relatively quite small.
I got you.
Oh, do you?
£1 million.
Wow. Yeah, that is super tiny. That's
so
small.
When they had the original idea, they thought it was just going to be a few guys filming in their flat with friends over a weekend.
Yeah.
That's how they were originally going to do this, but then they got some funds, shopped it around a bit, and then it turned into what we ended up getting.
Yeah. It definitely benefits from having a little bit of, I guess, the cachet. But then we think about the stars of this movie. Ewan McGregor's in it, but like this is still like very early Ewan McGregor.
He is not
super
a star.
Young. No, he is not a star in the least. And Eccleston obviously as well. He's relatively quite small time, but by this time Eccleston's done quite a lot of TV, because I remember him being the chief inspector in Cracker.
Oh, Gun Cracker.
Yeah.
You love Cracker.
Well, he gets done in by Bobby Carlyle.
Hell yeah.
In that series. And I say it's a series, but it's basically Jimmy McGovern wrote about 6 feature films, and they broke up each of the stories into 3 to 5 parts that they showed on like a weekly basis on ITV that I remember.
If anyone ever wants to talk about Cracker with Ryan, just send him a message.
Or at least the first kind of few episodes of Cracker, when Cracker goes to like
obsessed.
Yeah, when Cracker goes to fucking like the Canary Isles and like starts to solve murders and stuff there, like I kind of slowly start to lose interest. It was like when Only Fools and Horses went on holiday to Miami and they get embroiled with the gangsters of Miami and all this shite. That stuff.
All right. So we were talking about who is the key to getting money for this film. So the only known actor at this point who's in this film is Kerry Fox. And she was known because she was in, drumroll, do a little drumroll?
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much. Jane Campion's 1990 film, An Angel at My Table.
Oof, right, okay. Well.
That's right. We will not be covering that film, at least not in this main line of episodes that we're doing that we just talked about.
Oh, because it's got no full frontal in it.
It's got no full frontal male nudity, but it sure does have full frontal female nudity.
It's got boobies.
It's got boobies and bush and butts, but not from ladies, or not only from ladies.
Only from the ladies.
Yeah, only from Carrie, from what I've seen.
Oh, okay.
So, and yeah, we were talking about when we were watching this film that Eccleston puts on an accent, a Scots accent. Ewan McGregor's obviously. Yeah,
Ewan McGregor doesn't have to. Does he? Does he really? Thing is, it's also set in Edinburgh, so the Edinburgh accent can also feel very light. And also, one of my notes is there's plenty of English cunts in Edinburgh because it's basically it's Scotland's answer to London, except it's not as busy and not as smelly.
True.
But certainly
He's English.
he is English.
So
Yeah,
that's put on for sure.
that's fine. I mean, it's very light. It's not kind of, it's not like a Fife accent, which is like piercing. But certainly it's very light Edinburgh sort of accent. I mean, there's a host of Scots actors in this movie. A couple who I've met. Gary Lewis, I remember him on a short film like a few years ago. He's in the movie for literally about 5 minutes.
Lovely.
But yeah, you've got like Ken Stott, Colin McCready, Peter Mullen, Tony Curran. Also, John Hodge plays Ken Stott's assistant DC
Oh, yeah.
in the movie as well. He's the one who writes the notes, and he's only got a couple of written lines and stuff like that.
Are you writing out the numbers or just the numbers?
Both. Yeah.
Amazing.
Good man. Yes. Yeah, Ken Stott's good in this. Yeah, I think he's top class. Because what Ken Stott want to do? That series of books about that detective written by Ian Rankin. What was it called? Ken Stott was the lead.
Born Identity.
No, Ian Rankin. Jeez, oh. Anyway, Ken Stott played
Patriot
the title
Games.
character. No. You got to stop doing that. You can't be doing that shit. You really can. Well, you continue on. I'm gonna find it because otherwise it's gonna drive me up the fucking wall if I don't know what it is.
So Kerry Fox puts on an English accent because she is from New Zealand, and that is how she met Jane Campion back in the day. That Jane Campion film was
with
her
an English accent.
first film. No, it's a New Zealand film set in New Zealand based on New Zealand people. Is that Angel at My Table film. So she can speak in her New Zealand accent.
It's a local New Zealand production with New Zealand stars.
Exactly.
As I like to say. Like that other guy, that Peter Jackson fella.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he made
I've
plenty
heard of him.
those. Yeah, he did that movie Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles. And Brain Dead.
Yeah.
What's the other name for Brain Dead? Because it was the name
Oh, my gosh.
Dead Alive. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive is the American
Yes.
title for
I
it.
didn't, again, still, I don't understand.
The movie's amazing. So you're still researching. That's fine. So the first...
Not really. I'm just trying to find out the name of the fucking Rebus. John Rebus. Aye.
What is that?
It's Ian Rankin's detective creation. Ian Rankin is a novelist.
Yeah.
He lives in
books.
Edinburgh. Yeah, and he came up with a detective character called John Rebus, and Ken Stott played the TV version of Rebus.
You feel better now?
Yes. The only reason I bring it up is like they filmed on my street a handful of times when they were shooting that because Rebus was set in Edinburgh as well. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like watching films set there. You know, we watched Fast 9 the other night in anticipation.
That just gets more infuriating the more I see that film, like how the geography and how perplexing it is.
That's always the funny thing, though, when you watch a film that's set where you live or a place that you're really familiar with, because you obviously can't get from here to here, and you can't get from, like, the Royal Mile down into wherever the hell they went, and it's
to be
impossible.
Fair, to be fair, people in Edinburgh try to avoid Princes Street any which way they can. So the Fast and Furious film did a fantastic job of never getting the cars on Princes Street at any time whatsoever.
No, they went from George Street down. I don't know. I don't have it mapped out.
What I mean is that they completely bypass almost a mile's worth of road.
Yes.
Which is effectively Princes Street, which is like runs adjacent to George Street, but it also it does it at a diagonal. So it ends up completely bypassing the Mound and Princes Street, going back up the Mound to back to the other end of Princes Street, and then back up the Mound.
John Cena just needs a zip line all the way through. You don't even need a car.
John Cena literally zip lines from St. Giles Cathedral.
Yes.
All the way down from the bottom of the mound to almost pretty much in the heart of Newtown, which is at least 6 miles. It's insane.
It's beautiful. They can do anything.
Wild. Absolutely wild. I mean, they do kind of characterize in Fast 9 that he uses at least 7 or 8 different grappling hooks from rooftop to rooftop to get himself down to... I mean, he ends up back near where the cinema was, the cinema multiplex on near the Prince's Mall. It was weird.
Oh, the view?
Yeah, so he actually ends up coming all the way back around.
I'd like you to make a map for me, and then we'll put it on the internet.
I did think about doing that, and I'm just like, how infuriating the whole thing was.
Well, the same thing, it happens all the time. I remember when we watched Fighting with My Family, that Florence Pugh wrestling movie.
Yeah.
And the WWE Performance Center is in Orlando, and we were still living in Edinburgh at the time, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, it's like an Orlando-based film, how exciting. And then Stephen Merchant goes, and I'm going to blame him for it, putting them all over the place as if people that live in Orlando just go to the beach, and it's 10 minutes away. It takes you an hour to hour and a half. You got to plan that shit. It takes all day.
Orlando is Central Florida for anybody who's not aware. So
Makes me mad.
It's an hour to 2 hours in either direction, east or west, to get to the coastline.
Exactly.
So
anyway, but in Shallow Grave that we are talking about, they only spent, I believe, 3 days shooting the exteriors in Edinburgh, and the rest of it was shot in Glasgow on a set. So,
yes,
because they got money from Glasgow. So.
Yes. I think from the documentaries and stuff that we saw, they did scout actual flat locations, but the problem was that you can't move the walls.
Can't move the walls. The floors are going to be loud. You can't drill holes through the ceiling.
No, there's a lot of permits and stuff involved with doing things like that. Also, the loft space that's also in the movie, a lot of those spaces just don't exist in Edinburgh flats, just in general. Certainly top floor flats in Edinburgh. And this is a flat in the new town. These rooms are massive. Absolutely fucking huge. And there's certainly a way in which the set design kind of looks where it's like quintessentially kind of Edinburgh flat where there's like nice cornicing and it's the ceilings are really, really high. The rooms are quite nice and big and everything's kind of got like a nice grand nature to it because a lot of these buildings and a lot of the interiors and stuff, they're listed, they're quite old, but they're kind of quite well kept and they're historic, so you're not really allowed to touch them too much. They kind of keep that relative quality.
Yes.
But what you kind of see with this set design, at least the design that they've created for the sets that they've done anyway, is like kind of how stark they are, and there's like dashes of color and stuff everywhere. You kind of see a real sense of I guess his understanding of like how he wants these sets to look, because effectively it carries over into the set design that comes into Train Spotting. So there's a kind of real weird surrealistic quality to just kind of how the spaces are used and stuff like that. They're like irregularly large, I think.
Yeah, but it looks great.
It does look cool.
I loved it. I loved the flat. I loved all the colors and all the furniture. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I still, to this day, I don't know how much they were offering that room for.
I know. That's the first thing I thought, because they are trying to find a roommate, right? There's the 3 of them.
Rents are fucking disgusting in Edinburgh. Absolutely disgusting.
I mean, I'm sure in 96 it's going to be a little bit... I don't know. I'm not sure how it would be,
I mean,
but
it'll be relative to...
These people make money, at least. I mean, that, and actually that's pretty apparent, like how bad rent must be if you have a doctor, an accountant, and what is a...
He's a journalist.
And a journalist.
He's not a junior either. Like, he writes stories for... he writes... Journalist. Yeah, for like a tabloid paper.
These people make money, yet they still need a 4th roommate.
Yes.
To afford to live.
Yes. But it's also kind of like, I mean, I think if you've got a spare room there, like an extra room, because there was plenty of flats I went to that were in Edinburgh and stuff like, more in like the Marchmont area and stuff like that. They're a little bit more affordable, but the most part is that the only reason you rent out an open room is so that your rent goes down. I mean, that's effectively all it is. So I can see the that's a smart decision to make there. So you can save up to like get a house maybe in 50 years time.
Right. But it's interesting, the idea that anyone would want to live with those three people, because they're all horrible pieces of shit, except for Eccleston,
bad, yeah.
which starts off not so bad. He seems okay, he's quiet, he's an accountant, and he seems like someone I could get along with. A good roommate.
Yeah, there's a
We've all had roommates, and I fucking swear these three are worse than all of my shitty roommates put together.
There's a key distinction that we have to make, is that personality-wise, certainly Ewan McGregor's character and certainly Kerry Fox's character, they are they're a little bit rude. They're a little bit like they're very presumptuous,
up their own ass,
a little bit up their own arses. So there's a big distinction. I know you're saying like, oh, Eccleston gets a little bit crazy later on, after all the murder, but. Yeah. For the most part, he's the most normal person because effectively it's his story. We're led into the story by his voiceover and stuff. So it's effectively his story and kind of how he kind of spirals a little bit out of control after everything kind of transpires.
Yeah. They end up picking the one guy who comes in with a bunch of raw cash in his hand.
Yes, they're not aware of that, but I think why do they pick Hugo eventually? It's because he's interesting.
I suppose he comes by and only speaks to Kerry Fox, and she thinks, yeah, he's interesting. He's interesting, and then they all meet and have a lovely dinner. That's the only thing I really liked about having all those roommates, is they have a nice roommate dinner, seemingly every evening, with a nice big bowl of salad and glasses of wine. I loved that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, well, they're able to all finish work at the right time in order to be able to sit down and have a sit-down meal with each other,
Lovely.
where they're all helping each other with their dinner, which is a rare occurrence for if you are living in a flat with people.
Oh my God, yeah.
That is something that usually doesn't happen. Certainly, she's a nurse as well. She's going to be working...
She's a doctor.
Oh, she's a doctor. Well, then she's going to be working all fucking hours.
What, because she's a woman? She has to be a nurse? Ryan.
Well, I thought she was a nurse.
No.
Oh, okay.
She's a doctor.
Well, no, it was just I
I'm
didn't...
messing with you.
We'll find this out later. But anyway, I think that's a rare thing. I mean, again, this is a movie. They've written it this way, so they probably, it's not to be like, oh, she got some time off. She got the right shift so that, her and Ewan could, they could all be in the same room together. Because I bet Eccleston's schedule's pretty solid all the way through. He's probably not doing too many late nights.
Oh, he's on a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, certainly Ewan McGregor's a journalist. He's like writing all sorts of stories.
They're just the kind of roommates that will barge into your room, that will go through your things, that are bothering you all the time.
Yeah.
They always want to hang out. That is so stressful.
Yeah.
And this guy comes in, and I assume that this guy, Hugo, came in genuinely wanting somewhere to live. And if he hadn't have died, he would have moved out. He would have moved out.
I think he was just looking for lodgings quickly, because he had all that. He had all that cash that either he had stolen, or he was continually on the. He was just continually on the run. So his name might have not even been Hugo. I'm
That's
making
true.
a lot of like assumptions here. There's not really anything really explained other than he's. Is he a novelist in the film, or am I wrong? Is he not?
Yeah, I think he was.
Right. Okay.
I think he was. Yeah.
He could have said anything, to be honest. It doesn't.
That could have been a lie.
But he's obviously got a dark past, and he's being chased by Peter Mullen, which must be the most terrifying fucking thing.
Absolutely.
Being chased by Peter Mullen. Holy fuck! Because who's his friend? Is that Tony Curran?
I have no
Is that
idea.
who that is? Because certainly, yeah, they interview Colin McCready at the beginning. What was his name again? What was his name? He came in with a fucking Forbidden Planet bag. Cameron. There he is.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he came in. Because obviously, yeah, Colin McCready's gone on to, big things in TV and
You're
stuff like that.
saying a lot of names right now.
Well, these are all people that I've, recognised from being in Scotland,
Right.
and stuff like that. Because certainly Gary Lewis went on to do. He's in Gangs of New York, for fuck's sake.
Oh, lovely.
He was one of the other interviewees. He starts crying during their interview. All these people are like visibly quite old. Like all of them are. Even Keith Allen. No offense to Keith Allen, but like in the cause of, like I'd be like, whoa, he's not. Like how is he gonna gel? Because he looks fucking old.
It's that hairline. You can't blame him. Sometimes that happens young.
Does that mean I look old? Because my fucking hairline is receding at a fucking rate.
You have young eyes.
I know
my
I look
dear.
like, well, I've got this bald patch in my crown at the moment, and it's like I look like a fucking friar. Except I'm not religious and I fucking hate everybody. So.
Oh man, now you have an idea of a picture you can bring for your next haircut.
I don't really appreciate that. Like I'm.
Can
honestly,
I not jump on your joke?
I mean, it's
not fair.
Well, the thing is, I'm allowed to make self-deprecating comments about myself. I'm not gonna have you fucking coming in here with your
Okay.
with your
Right, Friar
nonsense. Fuck you.
I'm hoping that we can just jump in to not necessarily right into the dick scene, but like leading up into it, because that happens about 16 minutes, 32 seconds into this film, like pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of the film is at a breakneck pace, like the minute it starts, and it's kind of even like all the characterization that we're in Edinburgh like happens really fucking fast.
Yes.
And then we're in the flat and everything's there. We're trying to get a flatmate. The music's really cool.
Yes.
And then obviously they're interviewing people and it's like, oh, fuck them, you know. And then, oh, here comes Keith Allen, Hugo, you know, we'll take him.
No one else is cool. No one's cool.
No one else is cool, but Hugo. And
Hugo's
I always found that weird. But
fine.
anyway, well, he does. I mean, unfortunately, he does look like you know, we find out what happens to him. But I did like their doormat.
Yeah, what did it say again?
Not today, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah,
Let's get one made.
Yeah, a nice passive-aggressive statement on a doormat.
Not today,
I think
thank
is
you.
perfect. Because what do we have just now? A couple of smiling mushrooms,
Yeah.
a couple of little cartoon mushrooms. We had a pineapple before.
I guess we like fruit and veg on our doorstep.
Anthropomorphic, like yeah, fruit and veg.
That's fucking strange.
Like,
now that you
it's
say it out loud.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. Like when you put a smiley face on a piece of fruit and you go to bite into it, and they're like, no, you know, and it's like you're just chewing its fucking face off.
I know. As a vegetarian, it's going to get harder and harder for me to find something to eat.
That's true. I mean, they're living things too, Laura. You know what I mean?
Oh shit!
Yeah. So you know, you can't have it both ways.
I'm gonna eat rocks.
Just shatter all your molars.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just like don't have any teeth.
So,
Talking of not having any teeth.
oh god, ew!
Yeah.
Oh, I just got it. This movie's so good.
Yeah.
So, for whatever reason, I believe it's because they're having dinner, right? And they're annoyed that that Hugo hasn't come out of his room. They're all in the flat trying to get him to answer the door.
This is another thing where it's like, well, the daily events where they're all going to work. Eccleston's in a bit of a rush.
Typical.
Hugo's car's like still parked outside, so it's obviously he's not gone to work. They come back, his car's still there. They've no idea if he's even left. They're making dinner, and again, like this is like the annoyance of certain flatmates as well, is that they expect you to be like part of their group scenario. Yeah. And I don't know if that's it depends on the group. I think it's only ever worked for me maybe once, if that. But then it's like I need so much time on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a group of roommates where we would, well, actually one of them was a chef, and so she would cook, and it was always really, really lovely and fresh, and we would all sit outside and eat dinner together, but that happened maybe once every few weeks to once a month.
Yeah.
That was not a regular occurrence, and doing it every night, geez, even doing that every night with you would be difficult.
Well, yeah, because I work late sometimes.
Yeah, so it's stupid. Yeah. They're being really, really annoying. You've got Ewan McGregor kind of climbing up on the door because above the door there's a bit of glass so you can kind of see into the room to an extent.
That is very typical. That's very atypical of in Edinburgh flats and certainly Glasgow flats. You got a little peephole. You got like a little peeping glass like on the top there. I miss that because I had that in my mum's house as well.
Well, when we build our house, dear, we'll make it just like that.
I don't know what it's there for.
Pee-pee glass.
To be honest, I guess for pee-pee glass. Yeah. But yeah, I guess. Well, I don't just miss that. I don't just miss it. But like, there's a point where like Ewan McGregor's eating a pot noodle. I miss a pot noodle. I really do.
Okay.
Do we go to the British shop maybe tomorrow?
Yes.
Do they have pot noodles like a curry?
We're going to find out, dear.
Or a Bombay bad boy? Aye, they're the ones. They're the ones you need. Is a Bombay bad boy?
Okay.
Yeah, king
we'll
size.
We'll go to the shop. Don't worry.
Yeah.
This is America. We have everything that you need.
Okay.
Except for gun control. Anyway, so they're trying to get this asshole out of his room for dinner. He's living there for maybe 24 hours.
Yeah.
And these assholes are trying to knock the door down, barge through. They're peeping in through the peepee hole. They're trying to push it open, kick it down, and they eventually all slam the door in together. And
I don't know why at any point they ever thought Hugo was going to be like that comrade, like part of the group and stuff. Because there's an air about Keith. When Keith Allen walks into that place, he's like, I wouldn't say it's like standoffish, but he looks like he could blow up at any moment if you say the wrong thing. Like you don't fuck with someone who looks like that.
And also, if they don't answer the door, what makes you think that you can just barge into someone's private space like that? Within 24 hours of moving in.
Well, they break the door. Aye, they break the door in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's mental.
It's like, what if you could have been doing lots of different things in there.
Could have been.
You had the door locked for a reason.
That's true.
So, lo and behold, as we said in the synopsis, they knock that door down and this dude is fully dead.
He is 100% dead and completely naked.
He's totally naked on the bed. Super dead. And I think he might just have a little bit of a sheet over his leg, but other than that, he is laying across the bed, kind of hanging off of it a little bit. Totally naked, very hairy man.
It's incredibly shocking. But the thing is like, this is where the tone completely shifts in the film. Like, before it was all kind of like happy and laughs, and it's like, we're all friends, we're all got our jobs, we're all young professionals. And then it's like, oh fuck, we've got this dead guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Keith is giving everything to the camera in this moment. He's really chewing up the scenery with his dead body and his nakedness. And each of the roommates kind of do maybe what you would expect them to do. Ewan McGregor does what he has always done, is be super annoying and immediately starts going through his shit.
Yeah.
Opens up his drawers, pulling stuff out. He pulls out one of the drawers, reaches in, pulls out 2 needles, not capped or anything, just like raw needles.
Yeah. I always thought that was kind of weird, and obviously like a baggie. It's obviously heroin.
Yeah, it's absolutely heroin, but just the fact that you would just raw dog a couple of needles like that, like it's no problem.
Yeah.
That was concerning.
Yeah.
And
well, it teaches you not to go rifling in through people's drawers and stuff.
That guy will never learn a lesson. But
no, but he's an inquisitive journalist. He's a youngster. He's ready to get out there in the world. He wants to tell stories.
Some scruples. He doesn't have.
He's looking for the human element. All this sort of stuff.
And then you have Kerry, who I don't remember their actual character name, so that's fine.
It's Alex, David, and
it's Juliet.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that she, as a doctor, would say, "Well, we have a dead body." She doesn't even try to. In movies, usually when you find a dead body, you'd at least try to find a pulse. Exactly. Yeah, she doesn't do any of that. She's just watching Alex walk around, rifle through his things, and she leaves to call the emergency services as a sane person would do.
Yeah.
In the moment.
In her defense, though, Keith Allen is blue.
Okay, well.
And it's obvious he's vomited and he's probably choked on the vomit.
I didn't notice any of that.
They had vomit all over his chin.
Oh.
And he's also blue.
That's not what I was looking at.
He's almost bright fucking blue.
Oh.
But I think what happens is obviously Ewan McGregor, being the sort of person that he is, being very inquisitive as a journalist, he's like looking through everything to try and find answers as to why he has died. That is particular why he's doing it. And obviously Kerry Fox is there as the medical professional to show a little bit of decorum and a little bit of tact and decency, obviously being in the presence of a man who they met only just recently, who has now died. I don't know what Eccleston's doing at this moment.
He's just worried.
I think he's a little bit concerned. He's a little worried. Concerned. Yes, he's a concerned boy. But in the thing is, Ewan McGregor has to do a lot of searching in the room because obviously he stumbles on a suitcase
full of cold hard cash.
Big bundles of cash.
Big, like really heavy.
Really fat bundles of cash. And now they're stuck in a quandary. A moral quandary.
You say that. So as we move on, that concludes the penis scene. There is one moment where Kerry, I believe, puts the sheet just over his penis.
They cover him up.
Just a bit.
Yeah, they do like an in the cut thing where Ruffalo's like, I don't want to be exposed for this amount of time. It might not get past the censors. Let's just make sure that we have a character or someone covering this penis up so that we don't have to worry about it later or cut around it for whatever reason.
That's quite a long shot that they hold on his body for a while when you first see it. It's a pretty long, extended shot of his full naked dead body. So
it's there for ages.
Yeah.
Like there's no mistaking kind of what it is. Like I mean, it is there purely for the shock value, the vulnerability that they have just kind of walked and kind of stumbled themselves into. Like this was far more than what they were expecting from obviously giving Hugo the spare room to be their flatmate. This is like certainly they've forced their way into this man's life one way or the other, and they've gotten quite an eyeful as to what is going on here.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of those questions that you have about like who's Hugo, you know, obviously Peter Mullen and his accomplice, and I can't remember his name. I think it's Tony Curran. I'm probably wrong. Who are kind of murdering their way through Scotland to try and find Hugo, who has obviously the money. There is zero explanation as to like why they're doing that, why he has the money. You're just obviously aware that like there is a hideous, nefarious element to these people's lives, and the trio have effectively injected themselves into this sour business that seems to be going on at the same time.
So my big problem, and this is throughout the whole film, are the choices that these individuals make.
They're unintelligible.
Because you find a suitcase full of cold hard cash, and you have a corpse. So yeah. Kerry is on the phone with emergency services that is ringing and ringing and ringing. I don't understand that. When they finally pick up, this is at the point where Eccleston and Ewan McGregor come over and they show this case full of money, right? She hangs up the phone.
Yes.
Now, darling, you can have a dead body and a money case, and you can keep them separated. You do not need to involve those two with one another. You hide that case of cash, you get rid of the dead body, but what do? They keep that corpse in the house and go about their lives.
I think I'm not trying to say that like John Hodge, you know, didn't write a blast of a script here, because I think the script's really clever.
It's great.
The dialogue's fucking fantastic.
Yes.
But I would also kind of put out there that like this is probably a question for like Danny Boyle as well as John as well as Andrew, in that you could the film can still continue with the scenario that you've just put out there, where it's like emergency services comes and takes the body. Now, they would take the body away, they would not know about the man, but the thing is like with his belongings, there might have been a history, there might have been something there to suggest that, like, you know, for whatever reason, Hugo didn't put his money in the bank. He takes his money with him. Now, I know that sounds fucking mental,
There's people like that.
there are people who are like that, who still hide their money under their bed and their mattress. So, you know, there's obviously maybe a thought, like, there's a risk that, like, the minute they call the authorities and questions start being asked, they'll be like, oh, we've got whatever manifest or whatever it is. Like, this man had this much money to his name and stuff like that. Effectively, what they're trying to do is they're trying to disguise any sense of his identity so they can quite surely adamantly get away with keeping the money.
They're trying to get away with murder without actually committing a murder.
Pretty
but
much.
What happens, like, there is an insane jump. So it's already wild, the fact that they don't tell the police that there's a dead body. They leave the body there and then decide the next day to cut the body up into bits and bury it in the woods, remove all the teeth from the body, and then they feel like they are free to do what they will with this money.
So, well, you say they cut him up into bits. What they do is they cut off the hands and the feet, the identifying things, and they're going to burn them. And they're going to bust his fucking teeth out of his head. So they can't identify him.
Yeah. And the one thing that I pointed out during the film is they go to buy all the equipment in order to bury this body, cut off the pieces.
You go to a hardware store, like B&Q or something.
And they buy spades at the hardware store instead of shovels. And as an archaeologist, I can tell you that digging with a shovel is much easier than with a spade. The spade has a flat edge. Shovel is a pointed edge. You got to get into that dirt. And that Scotland dirt is a lot harder than the Florida sand.
It's colder, so the ground is naturally harder.
So just saying.
It's denser as well, so... yes, yeah, there's...
God. That whole scene is so crazy. They end up wanting to... I don't want to explain the whole thing to you. It's so good. But they decide to draw straws to decide who... Instead of all of them doing it together when, I'm sorry, you're committing a crime with your roommates.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be involved in this. So you're mutilating a corpse, right? So everyone needs to take a foot or a hand or smashing out them teeth. But instead, they draw straws, which is Ewan McGregor's bright idea, to just seemingly introduce trauma into one person's life instead of three.
The issue is that if you share the crime, you share the guilt. So that's effectively what they do in Park Chan-wook's Lady Vengeance, in that they all partake in the murder of this man who's, you know, if anyone's not familiar with the movie, the man has killed their children and they've found them, and each of the families get their turn to mutilate the murderer, effectively. But in effect, you know, if you share the crime, you share the guilt, and in a sense, you share the responsibility. So, you know, technically you share the secret. And the issue is obviously what they've done here is that it's like... there's too much back and forth, like to-ing and throwing as to who's going to do it, as opposed to like everyone has to partake in this ritual, right, in order for them to kind of feel like they're all covered. But the problem is that they put all of this weight on the shoulders of the young accountant who's like in this hole, this really this shallow grave, so to speak. Hacking away through bones, and he's like vomiting, and then he takes a hammer, and they describe like the way that Hugo's face looks when the obviously, you know, the police find the body, is that he is completely unrecognizable. So he's just like hammered his face.
Wow.
And he's just like, they've just taken each of his teeth out of his, and the thing is, I didn't like this. You probably shouldn't be hammering the teeth into the face like they do. Because you have to find the teeth. What if the teeth
Yeah.
fall down his throat into his stomach or something? They're going to find a tooth.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're not smart.
It's not clever.
They're not smart.
It's a little unintelligible. But the thing is like, it's so absurd that it's wildly entertaining. So,
yes, absolutely.
You know, that's kind of how they kind of get away with it. And I guess, like, there's some really kind of interesting kind of moral questions kind of put into play. Because I think, you know, Christopher Eccleston's at work, and the other two decide, well, fuck it, we've got all this money, we probably don't ever need to work a day in our lives again. You know, so they start spending some of the money, and there's a really good exchange between them and Christopher Eccleston, where he's just like, how much did this cost? And they're talking about, like, the video camera. There's, like, a section where, like, it's
a shopping montage, but within
it showcases
the
their
items
opulence,
that they
yes.
purchased on a video camera, which is very fun.
Yes, it's like showcases their opulence, basically, and their kind of gross neglect of, like, this situation. And he's like, how much did this cost? And like, £500. And they're like, well, no, that's not why I'm asking you. It's like, we have no idea how much it cost. Like, we're still waiting to see what the price of this is.
Of this crime.
Of this crime.
The price of crime.
The price of crime, which is effectively, I don't know, priceless, I suppose. Like, there is no cost, like the cost of it. But as we have pointed out, you know, Peter Mullen is killing his way through to get to Hugo.
Yeah, so
some fucked up, horrible gangster stuff that happens in the movie.
Yeah, this just turns into a couple people needing a roommate, into oops, there's a dead body, to cutting up that body.
Yeah.
And then being hunted by gangsters.
Yes.
And more murder, and people just descending into absolute madness over a case of an indeterminate amount of money.
Yes, we don't know how much money it is. Same as we never know how much that room was up for rent either. Because that's the bigger question I have, is like how much that room went up for rent. Because that's my main question. Is like, I'm genuinely interested in the financial elements of living in Edinburgh in 1993, 1994. But yeah, in kind of classic Danny Boyle fashion, one of the characters goes a little bit mental, and then kind of locks himself away.
Yeah.
And he gets a little bit stir crazy, and he starts doing crazy kind of Apocalypse Now style sort of kind of nonsense, effectively.
I have some funny facts about the fight sequence at the end of the movie, if you don't mind me jumping that far.
I guess. I mean, Peter Mullen and his accomplice, who again I hope is Tony Curran. If he's listening, I apologize so highly.
Thanks for listening, Tony, not Tony.
But yeah, no, that scene always gets me. Is that he fucking kneecaps Ewan McGregor and he throws him to the ground. And he puts a plastic bag over his head, and it's just like, yeah, you're all going to die now.
It's
like,
very scary.
Very, very scary. And
but
you know
funny.
they're going to do, yeah, it's hilarious. But it's like, it's that bit where they, you know, the two gangsters, Peter Mullen and that, they go up into the loft and you're like, well, there's Christopher Eccleston just like running around like a fucking psychopath with a hammer. And it's that bit where like you just see the ladder and the open loft door and stuff, and then the body just falls down and it's just thunk right onto the floor. On its head, and it's like, there you go. And they obviously have to deal with then 2 more bodies in a slightly deeper grave.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of fight sequence at the end, this roommate fight sequence where Eccleston finally kind of reaches his peak, and this fight was supposed to be between, one of them was supposed to be a stunt guy, but we mentioned the budget was pretty low. It was like a £1 million budget, and they ran out of money.
What fight sequence is this? This is the one at the very, very end with
Correct.
all the knives. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So there's supposed to be a stunt guy involved, but the production ran out of money, and the stunt guy was looking at his watch. He goes, are you going to pay me? Because I'm out of time here, and if you're not going to pay me, I'm going to leave. And he left. And so they had to do it themselves.
So who was the stunt guy meant to be stunting?
Me, I don't know. I actually don't know who it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be McGregor. but that's a guess. I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't really remember the scene itself. I mean, we only just watched. I can't remember specifically, like, kind of how it goes.
McGregor ends up on the floor. Eccleston's on top of him, and that's where
he stabs him with that knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because they had to sell off a lot of the set pieces in order to even buy film. So, like, the set that they built and all the furniture and stuff, like, getting towards the end of production, they needed film. So they started just selling off some of the furniture and some of the bits from the set in order to finish the film. Because they didn't have any money. They couldn't even pay the stunt guys.
Yeah. There's a great bit in the... there's a behind-the-scenes documentary that was made for BBC Scotland that basically shows, like, how much footage they've shot already, and it's... Yeah, I think only 400 feet of film gets you, it's maybe between 30 to 40 something minutes.
Wow.
Something like that. So it's not a lot.
Yeah, no, that's wild.
Yeah.
I think it's funny just hearing and seeing how they do certain things, like...
I only know that because I've worked on some short films that shot on film, and it was very stressful.
I can imagine.
Yeah, certainly when, like, you're doing a scene that's all one shot and you have to make sure it's in focus and you have to do it by tape measure.
Wow.
Because there isn't an eyepiece.
Oh, gosh.
And the camera's also very loud, so...
That, anyway, yeah, no, that's hard.
Hard times.
So... I'm still talking about the end of this film. So Ewan McGregor's on the floor and he gets stabbed in the shoulder.
Yes.
So apparently they had to, in order to do that, they kind of had a dummy on the ground, and then they put Ewan McGregor underneath the floor. So they had the fake floorboards, and they built the floor kind of around his neck so that they could do the stabby bit. And apparently he was like, oh, I'm not claustrophobic, but I am now. And Danny Boyle had to, like, talk him down and calm him down so they could film that bit with the stabbing at the end.
It's really good. And also that kind of makes to one of the best shots in the movie, which is kind of indicative of, like, the whole thematic concern that obviously the film has, where you see the knife has gone right into the wood. The knife just doesn't go through, like, it goes completely through his shoulder.
It goes totally through his shoulder, but also there's a moment where Kerry gets a shoe and she's slamming it down into his flesh.
Yeah, so she can nail it into the wood a little bit, so he couldn't move, basically.
Yeah.
So he's, like, kind of stapled to the ground via the knife, effectively. It's really cool. Like, I think certainly the way the film ends, it's one of those, it's twisty-turny, kind of backstabby. There's this whole thing, obviously, with the opening monologue, and then obviously with the closing monologue, because Kerry kills Christopher Eccleston's character, stabs him right through the throat.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a really clever kind of just, like, practical knife effect, which, again, I'm like, get the Criterion, watch the behind-the-scenes stuff. You get to see kind of what you can do with such a low budget, and you've just got, like, a really good script. I think that's just something that's, like, it feels a little bit absent with certain films and stuff that we see now, where it's just a prevalence on more CG effects and, like, stuff that kind of looks a little bit ropey, when really a lot of that, that kind of very visceral sort of, like, hard-hitting stuff it comes from more, like, analog means, which I personally prefer. But yeah, certainly, yeah, he dies, and there's that whole, like, again, like I said, the whole opening monologue was about, like, friends coming together, and, it's like, oh, I thought I could trust my friends, and what are friends for if you can't trust them, all this sort of thing, so...
There's a shot, I think it's at the end, where they push Christopher Eccleston into the morgue drawers.
Yeah.
But that was a working morgue. So there were dead bodies in there, and he didn't want to go in, and he was having, like, a bit of a panic. And so they decided to have one of the prop guys go in there first. When they pushed Eccleston in, there was a prop guy in there going, hey, it's okay, I'm here with you. So Danny Boyle said you could hear it, and so they kind of had to put something over it, because you could hear him saying to Eccleston, like, to calm down.
Yeah. Just gave him a wee pat on the leg.
Yeah.
That would make me feel even worse. Like, if there was someone in that little dark space with me, like, tapping me on the leg, being like, it's okay. It's like, I'm like, right,
Yeah,
okay.
that's even worse.
Yeah, whatever.
So this film was actually the most commercially successful British film of 1995 with a gross of £5 million pounds. 5.2 million pounds. Yay.
Well, this was before, like, Notting Hill and Four Weddings and a Funeral that would just, like, completely blow that out of the water. So, there is that. This film made waves, like, back in the day. It was always a really good one. It's a weird thing watching it when I was younger, and you're like, oh, it's in Edinburgh, and then you watch it now, and you're like, oh, it's in Edinburgh, you know. And there's a charm to it and stuff, and it was like stylistically quite refreshing for the time. And watching it now, it's very much it's very indicative of like a director's kind of debut, kind of like the idea of it. It's like, it's not particularly safe, but I also, like, it certainly plays a lot into, like, if as a comparison, let's say, like, the Coen Brothers debut feature, like A Simple Plan. Like, not A Simple Plan, sorry.
Blood Simple?
Blood Simple, sorry.
Which
Fuck.
Danny Boyle said that this is a total ripoff of.
Yeah, aye. Like, Blood Simple's pretty much, they're almost the exact same film. They're kind of, again, it's like, it's just, and I mean, I don't know, like, I kind of, I don't want to kind of throw anybody under the bus, but I think genre is very important. It helps to sell films, and it helps to categorize what your film is, and it means people will come to see it because they know what the fuck they're getting when they go to see it. So films like Blood Simple, I think Shallow Grave, Evil Dead, like, all these sorts of things, like, that's why these films, these debuts do so well, is because they're already part of an archetype that's already been set by generations of other filmmakers. But if you just twist it a little bit and you twist it slightly, it becomes something new and it becomes something slightly different. It's always kind of what I thought Shallow Grave was.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Simple's not a funny film, and it doesn't have that, in my opinion, nowhere near the humor that this one offers.
No, but there's some really cool stuff in Blood Simple.
Of course there are.
And it's just a very well written, well shot, kind of very well kind of piecely, put together piece of filmmaking. And it's got a breakout star in Blood Simple as well. You got Frances McDormand as well, who's like fantastic in that film.
So I thought that I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I don't know if I'm going to do this every time, but maybe I will if I can come up with some questions. But I thought it would be fun. Don't look at my computer. Did you look? I'll kill you.
But Laura, I can't. All right, calm down.
Did you see it? Okay, I'm going to give you.
I can't read it from here. I need reading glasses. I told you this already.
Okay, perfect.
I can only. There's a space in between stuff that's too far away and stuff that's too close to my face, and it's literally, I think it's like 1.5 feet from my face. I can read that if it's at the right size, but usually small text I can't read. I need glasses, basically. I'm nearsighted, I think that's what they would say.
Okay, so what I want to do here is give you a little quiz. I have 3 questions that don't really have anything to do with the film, but I thought they'd be fun to ask to see if you know a couple of things. I don't know, just for fun. They're random questions that I came up with. So I'm going to ask you them. Are you ready? Is Ryan smart? Ryan? It's not even about being smart. It's like, can you guess?
I know.
The answers.
I don't need to have something that basically illustrates maybe how stupid I am.
Because this isn't about being stupid or smart. This is just random questions that you may or may not be able to guess.
That I got from an IQ test. So we're going to find out how smart you really are.
Okay. So what is the chemical compound of... I'm just kidding. I'm not asking you any science questions.
Wow.
Ready?
Aren't you a card?
Hilarious. I would like to know...
Right.
I'm going to give you choices.
Oh, is this multiple choice?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see if I can just get it first off before,
I'll let you.
And then
I'll let you try.
I'll ask for the choices.
What is Danny Boyle's highest grossing film?
I mean, probably Slumdog Millionaire.
You're correct.
Yeah. It was the Oscar winner that year.
Great job.
Yeah.
$378 million.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That's a decent movie. Yeah, I don't think it's great, but it's pretty decent. Like, it's not a bad movie.
Okay, this is a similar question. The third one's different. Ready?
Right, okay. Yeah, okay.
What is Ewan McGregor's highest grossing film? This is harder.
I mean, it's a Star Wars, right?
Would you like your choices?
Well, it's going to be the 3 Star Wars movies he's in.
No.
Oh, really?
There's different choices.
Okay,
I
yeah,
made
give
these
me-
questions.
Okay, well, give
I'm
me
not an asshole. Okay, you ready? Is it A, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Yeah, see, that's the one I might have gone for.
Is it B, Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast?
The live action Beauty and the Beast?
What the fuck is he in Beauty and the Beast?
I think he's the candelabra.
Luminaire?
Yeah. Lumiere.
Lumiere?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Ready?
that would never have been my choice. Okay.
Or C, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
It's like, do I go for the one that I genuinely think is quite good, or do I go for the safe answer, which is...
Well, it's a highest grossing film, so which film do you think made the most money worldwide?
I think it's Phantom Menace.
You're incorrect.
Oh.
It is Beauty and the Beast, which is one of the most successful films ever made,
Wow.
if you can believe that. $1.2 billion.
I mean, it's still not as much as Avatar and the other Spider-Man movie.
The Phantom Menace came in at $984 million. That was the second.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Okay.
Because I feel like the interest in those movies dropped quite precipitously by the time it got to the third one. Even the third one is on par with some of the original trilogies, at least.
Revenge of the
in
Sith
my
is fucking
opinion.
amazing.
In my opinion. I mean, there's that bit where Obi-Wan and Anakin just like swing their lightsabers in front of each other to a background of like lava and fire, like literal hell. And they swing it for so long, like charging themselves up, and then they clash. And then obviously lightsabers have no weight to them other than in the hilt. So it's a complete waste of time. But it just looks good.
It looks great.
And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. It is a visual medium after all.
Would you like my last question?
I would, yeah. This will be the one that decides if I'm 60% good or only 30% good.
Exactly. What number Doctor was Christopher Eccleston in the Doctor Who series of Doctors?
I'm never going to get that because I never really liked Doctor Who.
I have the choice of 3.
I mean, I'll make a guess, like 13.
No.
That's not even a choice.
That's not a choice I gave you. Is it A, 9? Is it B, 5? Or is it C, 12?
Oh, 12.
Is that what you want to guess?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so he was 9.
Correct.
Right, okay.
12 is Peter Capaldi and 5 is Peter Davison.
Oh, you were asking me yesterday about Peter Capaldi. I should have known. Should have known this was underhanded.
Big mistake.
I made a horrible boo-boo.
Well, that's the joke with the Doctor, is that he always wanted to be a Scottish man. And it ended up happening eventually.
Yeah, because there was David Tennant. Then
Yeah, but David Tennant had an English accent.
I think he was a little bit light and fruity, was he? No,
But he
wasn't
did,
like...
but he still as that. Oh my gosh, I'm a Doctor Who nerd. Even still as that Doctor, he would still say he wanted to come back Scottish.
Right. Okay.
So when he regenerated as Peter Capaldi, he was like so excited. The Doctor character was like, "Oh, I'm finally Scottish."
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like Tom Baker.
Oh,
Tom Baker
hell
was
yeah.
Tom Baker was like incredibly eccentric. I think that's kind of obviously one of the draws of Doctor Who is kind of how eccentric, the Doctor can be. My friend Mark from school, he does a podcast that's all about Doctor Who. But he's been watching Doctor Who since he was a child. He knows a lot about Doctor Who. He
David
read
Tennant
the books and stuff.
Was my first.
David Tennant was your first?
Was my first.
I don't really have a first because I didn't really watch it
It's very
that
fun.
much.
It's very fun. It's very nerdy, but very fun.
The ones I did watch, like the modern ones I did watch, I hadn't seen too many. I remember seeing the film that had the 3 doctors in it.
That was cool.
And brought them back. I remember seeing that and I thought it was fine.
Eccleston's season that he's in is the best written season, I think, of any of the new ones, where they consistently had really, really great stories, but he's only in one season. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, they don't do seasons back home. It's
Series.
It's series.
I understand.
So, I don't know. Well, Christopher Eccleston, I think, was fine, but I think the general public had a greater draw to David Tennant when he was the Doctor.
He's prettier.
He is a bit prettier, and he's a little less serious. Christopher Eccleston, you can't really get away from the fact that, like, everything is serious all of the time.
Yeah. He was not fun, but he did have great stories.
Also, didn't like his leather jacket.
The leather jacket, you're right.
I didn't like
it.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
It wasn't good.
No, the overcoat, they started obviously bringing in a little bit more of the old into it. Because certainly, Tom Baker, he had the scarf.
The hat.
And things. And then the other guy who had like the kind of blondish hair, he had like
That was Peter Davison.
Peter Davis, he had like the cravat as well. And he had like a suit jacket and things. Who was after Peter Davison?
Ooh.
What happened there? I see, you don't know that much, yeah?
No.
Well, then you had to correct me. But anyway, they had all of their set. I can't even remember what Peter Capaldi looked like. I was just like, oh, look, it's fucking Malcolm Tucker.
I think he had that. I feel like his outfit had like coattails or something, and he had like a little watch with like a little gold chain or whatever.
Yeah.
They all would end up wearing those like kind of 3-piece suit type of things.
They really missed a trick with Peter Capaldi not calling a Dalek a cunt.
Yeah.
Like, I think that really would have...
You'll probably get away with that once.
Maybe. Certainly pre-Watershed, maybe.
So I have one accolade of this film. It was the 1995 BAFTA for Best British Film.
Yeah. I thought the film did fine.
For Shallow Grave. We've been talking about Doctor Who for a bit. We're still on a Shallow Grave episode.
Yeah, we're certainly not going to make a habit of talking about Doctor Who too much, but yes.
We rarely do.
Yes.
I did get in oh no, I didn't talk about Seinfeld. I did now. There you go. Feel good now.
Ugh,
Seinfeld.
God. Yeah, it's like we can't even do an episode where they bring fucking Seinfeld up. Fucking Larry David fucking rubbing his hands all the way to the bank. Just every time it's brought up, he's just like a little piece of his heart, like, starts to rebuild.
Okay, would you like to go first for our final ratings?
Well, I was going to say we didn't talk about the Kaylee.
Oh, there's a ton of stuff I didn't talk about, but we don't have all day.
Brian McKinley. Mm-hmm. Mr. Brian McKinley. I'm Brian McKinley.
Oh, yeah, I said that before he even said it. I'm Brian. Fucking bin bag.
And he did, yeah. Fucking bin bag.
Really expired your maleness to the full. I wrote that down.
So here's the thing, and I don't know why you didn't bring it up, but they do a Fatal Attraction in this movie.
What do you mean?
So there's a bit in Fatal Attraction where Glenn Close, who's like sitting by the phone and the phone light rings and she's just switching on the light on and off.
Yes.
On and off. And that happens in Shallow Grave with Eccleston. He's just like switching the torch on and off, on and off. Yeah, did you not notice that? Because I immediately was just like, well, Fatal Attraction came before this did. And they just did they've just started pulling out the I'm crazy tropes,
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't connect it.
Did you
I was too engrossed.
You were too engrossed. Well, I was like...
I don't often think about other things. I'm like dead to the world. I'm just sucked in. I'm just doing the thing. I'm in the story, or I'm falling asleep.
Cool. All right.
So I didn't notice that, but that's really interesting. I like it.
Yeah, definitely does not sound patronizing at all.
I'm not. I'm really not. I'm really not.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I liked it. I like that observation. Good observation, and I'm not. Thank you. Please tell me your ratings. I'm sorry that we skipped so much. We went off track. So if anyone wants to talk to us a little bit more about Shallow Grave, please get in touch. I love this movie.
Well, that was the only thing. I mean, the Wicker Man's on the TV as well, and you hear him go, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Yeah. Also a fantastic movie.
And also a fantastic movie. No, in terms of my ratings, the dick scene, I would say 5 stars. Contextually, I like that he's naked. And again, like, I don't want it to be like, oh, well, you know, obviously, if he wasn't naked, we wouldn't be covering it on the podcast, because that's obviously every other film that we do cover on the podcast. But,
yeah.
like, it does make sense. He's in his personal space,
Right.
and he's on his bed, and as far as we're aware, he's taking a couple of double shots of heroin, he's having a real nice time. You probably don't want to wear your pants.
No, you probably, and those sheets looked fairly nice. So you think maybe he was having a nice rub on the sheets, you know?
I think
They
he
looked
was
silky.
maybe caressing the silky sheets.
Yeah, because even when I'm not on heroin, I like some fresh sheets.
That's very true. You don't actually have to be on heroin in order to enjoy some nice fresh sheets.
Absolutely, on your naked skin.
Yes, but certainly it helps. But I would say that it seems perfectly plausible. And we know exactly, like, what would happen if they walked in there and he's just, like, he's almost completely starkers except for a pair of, like, dirty Y-fronts.
Yeah.
You would say something.
Oh, yeah, I would be furious.
You'd be like, cop out. What a load of shite. That's a load of crap. What
or
is
if it's
this?
just that when the blanket's just so draped, at least they just so draped it after they uncovered it,
Yeah.
which is completely fine and totally normal.
Yeah. Or if you just saw Keith Allen's hairy arse.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You'd
see, that I
also-
wouldn't have been so mad. I would have been like, you missed a beat there. But
Yeah.
but I'm glad that they didn't have the butt and they had the front.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, you did 5. Great.
it does. Yeah, it does. It works purely on the shock value, just alone. So.
Right, and I think that's what is needed for this movie. Do you mind if I also jump in on that?
I guess.
5 stars. I there's part of me that wants to argue and say, you know, you want to know, like, is this necessary? Does it need to be there? Because that's kind of the point of what we're doing here, is to figure out whether or not there needs to be any nudity in this film. And does there need to be? No, but it certainly adds to the tone and what they're putting out there for this type of film. And yeah, you want it to be shocking. They just met this guy. They're a bunch of assholes trying to break into his room, and yeah, he's naked in his room. Who's not naked in their room? Genuinely. If you're going to bed, I mean, not everyone sleeps naked, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know, getting on them silky sheets.
That's true.
So, I loved it. Great.
Good.
Would you like to rate the film?
So I gave it 4.5. I think I was maybe a little bit too excited. I probably think it deserves more of a 4. Just because there is some unintelligible nonsense that kind of does happen over the course of it. But then I'm also kind of like, well, without some of the stuff, it's you know, it's like it's not really the same film either. So yeah, I'll stick to my 4.5. I do like it because it is like this kind of this dark, this black comedy that just has a real kind of great energy about it. And yes, and I like it. I like it. I don't know if I'd want to watch it again soon, though. I think it's also that.
I actually would. I was a little bit sleepy when we watched it.
I was continually kind of like, I felt incredibly familiar at it, and I was like, well, I don't want this to feel like its familiarity kind of breeds contempt, because I feel like a lot of the films I covered when I was in school, like for classes and for projects and things like that, like I don't like watching them now. Trainspotting is a bit of an exception, but certainly I have that same sort of feeling towards Braveheart, because Braveheart was another one that we covered, and that film. That film's very long. It's also historically inaccurate, and it's also got some fucking accents in it that.
So
I feel like
I also I'm just gonna I don't know, join the club. I'm joining the club of a 4.5, and
Okay.
I think I gave it extra because of how absurd it is. Because I kind of enjoy watching people make horrible choices and seeing the fallout from those choices. They should have called the police. Why would they jump to wanting to cut off hands and feet and smash in teeth? Like, it is bonkers, but I really enjoyed watching them stumble through all of these decisions and doing it as friends.
I was ready to make a joke about there's 3 separate people with like university degrees, like with obvious like levels of intelligence that have gotten them to this point in their lives. But I'm also kind of like, anyone can get a degree now, so it doesn't mean you're smart.
Just means you have money or a lot of debt.
I think if you're going to commit murder, you should have a lot of common sense.
Only the only person that didn't murder anybody was Ewan McGregor.
True.
Actually.
Yes.
And he's the dumbest of them all.
He is pretty dumb, but he's also the one that comes out on top.
So is he the
by
smart
the end
one?
of it. So
maybe he's wicked smart.
Maybe he's wicked smart. But I mean, I would say...
or just wicked lucky.
Not, yeah. The level of psychopathy that's being demonstrated here is kind of more on Eccleston's part. But I feel like he is created. He is not... he's not naturally like that, you know. He is made effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, this was great. I really, really did enjoy this film. I loved watching it with you, especially since it was my first time. It's always fun to watch something that you enjoy, that I also enjoy, and cleaning up Danny Boyle's box or whatever we're doing.
I don't even know what
I don't
that
remember
means.
what I said. We're cleaning up
his box.
Cleaning up Danny.
We're cleaning up Danny. He's
made officially clean.
He's made a right mess, so we've had to come in and we've had to wipe it down and be like, "Yo, don't do that again."
No, do it again, and then we'll clean that one up as well. But as for now,
I think we've ticked him off. Yeah, we've ticked him off the list. He's done. There is no more.
The book is closed on Boyle.
Boyle is done unless we decide to cover one of the movies that doesn't have anything in it in one of our new format shows.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, some point in the future.
Thank you for showing me this film, Ryan, and thank you for joining me today and coming to you from Newtown. I have been Laura.
I've been Brian McKinley.
Oh, Brian! Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.
Brian!
I love you, Brian.
And I think we're just going to say, like, just because we think you have a musk, that's not a problem.
No!
It's an insight into your personality.